Move over, Alabama. Illinois is the new DBU.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome one, welcome all to another edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. My name is Sonny Verma, your host here at Locked On Illini, where I continue to provide you coverage daily. That's right, every single day of the orange and blue. And I ask for nothing in return. All the information on this show is absolutely free. The only thing I ask for in return is if you can hit that like button just to let me know you're watching. We're getting so close to college football season. Big Ten Media Days are literally just next week in Las Vegas. I'm super excited to be covering the Illini there. If you're in the area, please let me know. I'd love to meet up and have a chat with the community, which continues to grow. Over 300 people in our Discord. Make sure if you're looking to talk to other Illini fans all across the country, click on the link in the description. We've got a growing community that we're basically talking each and every day. So for today's episode, someone sent me an article from ESPN.com talking about how I think they listed the top 10 defensive backs in the NFL, and number 9 and number 10 were players coached by current Illini staff members. And I just felt like I want to do a little bit more digging on this. And you know what? It's a Friday episode. I want to have a little fun and go ahead and officially dub Illinois as DBU. And I don't think I'm too far out of line. 6 Illini defensive backs have made the NFL rosters heading into the 2025 season. We've got Devin Witherspoon, first round, 2023. Sidney Brown, Eagles, third round, 2023. Quan Martin, Commanders, second round, 2023. Kirby Joseph, Lions, third round, 2022. Nate Hobbs, Raiders, fifth round, 2021. And Tony Adams, an undrafted free agent in 2022. Notably, that 2023 draft put Illinois on the map. These defensive backs were taken within the first 66 picks, I believe it was. Nobody else in the Big Ten pulled that off. This is what you call a pipeline in action. Those 6 players didn't just come in pre-labeled as 5-star players, not here at Illinois. They were developed here with our coaches within the system. A few data points to prove it wasn't just luck. Jartavius Martin posted a 40-inch vertical, top at the combine, and a 44-inch broad jump, which is an Illinois record. Sidney Brown put up 23 bench reps and ran a 4.47 40. That's Illinois defensive backs beating national powerhouses on testing day, which means we're not just sending them, we are preparing them. And what's behind this surge? 3 pillars that I can think about. Player identification. The staff has been super adept at finding under the radar talent, those who might be overlooked but have the drive, or like Brett likes to say, the chip on the shoulder type of mentality. Also, we have pro level coaching. Now with Lovie Smith before him and now Brett Bielema, Illinois has had technical development that you see at an NFL type of standard. And then of course you have the scheme fit and versatility. Illinois defensive backs train for multiple roles: slot, field, corner, zone, man, which NFL teams all embrace and covet. Coach Bielema's system involves them in every aspect, making them appealing prospect as soon as they hit the NFL. Now let's talk about the 2 cornerstones that this article had listed, who again were coached by current Illini staff. First, number 9 was Kenyon Mitchell from the Eagles. He allowed just 1.5 yards after catch on 30+ targets, which was best in the NFL. His ball hawking skills, 12 pass deflections, a 16% deflection rate, 75% fewer reception yards when the pass fell near him. NFL coaches praised his press coverage and swagger, values that we try to cultivate in Champaign. And then, of course, at number 10, you have Devin Witherspoon, already a 2-time Pro Bowler. He's now been ranked in the top 10 2 years in a row. He's known for his run support, a 90 PFF grade, by the way, 66 solo tackles, and a strong blitzer work, which isn't very common at the corner spot. Some people say he might be better suited as nickel, but he's explosive enough to push outside. Again, what I talked about before, versatility. Both are part of a national top 10 corners list, and that climb coincides with their time in Champaign, a testament to our staff preparing tomorrow NFL stars today. Let's flash back to a couple other standout defensive backs. We have Sidney Brown, Quan Martin, Kirby Joseph. You're talking 6 active NFL defensive backs in just, 3-4 years? That's not a fluke. That's almost becoming the Illinois way. NFL scouts and GMs are now whispering that, hey, Illinois might just be defensive back you. The confidence is real. Quotes that we've seen, Illinois has found developmental gem after gem. And they aren't 5 stars, but they become NFL ready. That's what the Illini program has become. Raw athlete meets pro coach. What does that mean? Well, it means a lot for the returning secondary. All 5 starters, keep in mind, are returning to next year's roster. I do think that we're stocked with NFL talent even after some of the recent losses. And let's be honest, for the future of the program, what's very important is the recruiting pitch. We can tell recruits, hey, come here, work here, and you have a real NFL shot. Just take a look at Witherspoon. Just take a look at Mitchell. Take a look at Sidney Brown. True story selling. Top high school defensive backs are listening. And culture and identity. It's now kind of becoming the Illini brand. Even local fans can say Illinois is becoming a cornerback factory. So let's talk about why this is ultimately a big deal. Alabama, Ohio State, LSU, they might have the volume, but Illinois offers proven quality every year, not just numbers. 6 active NFL corners with regular year-to-year performance. That's elite. And where do we go from here? Well, if Illinois keeps producing 2 to 3 NFL defensive backs every draft, well, quite honestly, we're going to be permanently on that map. It provides program stability because prospects know they'll get pro-level training and a chance regardless of where their star rating is at. And let's not forget the recruiting domino effect. As soon as one top defensive back commits, more follow. Heck, just take a look at the class that we're having so far in 2026. And also important, of course, is staff continuity. Players know that the guys who developed the ones before them are going to be here, and the pipeline is going to continue to be sustained. Illinois is building a legacy of grit, technique, and transformation, and cornerbacks are leading the charge. When you used to think of Brett Bielema or Illinois football, you would think of linebackers in the case of the university, or offensive line or running backs when you thought of Brett Bielema. But Illinois in the modern era is building NFL-ready cornerbacks with upside and impact. What started quietly in Champaign is now a media talking point. Again, 6 Illini defensive backs in the NFL, NFL Combine stars, and top 10 ranked pros, all trained here, right here in the Midwest, where we're turning it into defensive back country. And for recruits, that's a message that resonates loud and clear. Champaign is where you go to do work and bear the fruits of that work. And stay tuned, Illini fans. 2025 is the year that we take that pipeline to new heights. With Xavier Scott, with Matthew Bailey, and again, take a look at their incoming recruiting class. That defensive back pipeline is not changing anytime soon. And right after this, we're going to be talking to Brian Smith of the Portal podcast, where we're going to discuss the guy who I think could be very much next in line behind Witherspoon, behind Kenyon Mitchell, and could show up on that top 10 best cornerbacks list in the NFL in the future. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. As a user of Monarch Money, it really surprised me just how much me and the missus were spending on takeout every single week. In order to fix our budget, we decided we need to make some tough decisions, something we wouldn't have realized if it wasn't shown to us by Monarch. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code Locked On College for half off your first year. And welcome back to Locked On Illini. I wanted to spend another segment talking about a future star, about what I just discussed in that first segment. And speaking of stars, why not bring on the Brian Smith from the Portal podcast right here on the Locked On Network. Brian, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Always fun to talk a little scouting.
Exactly. So, Brian, I want to talk about Jacob Eberhart. Now, Eberhart was a recruitment that I didn't think that we were going to win. You just take a look at that recruitment table that he had. He had hats from Alabama, Oklahoma, Missouri. Those Oklahoma and Missouri legit thought that they had chances of winning this recruitment. And so I was celebrating my daughter's birthday party at the time, and I got the text that, hey, he's coming to Illinois. I watched it. I went over some of his tape. I did a show on Monday just talking about how excited I am about having a guy like Eberhart. Of course, it's exciting because of the legacy. His father played for the University of Illinois. He was a teammate of athletic directors Josh Whitman. But I think it just kind of brings into a culmination of just what this class is looking like overall, which we'll get to in a little bit. But I gave my scouting report to the audience here, but I wanted to bring you on because you have more of a professional eye. Am I justified in being so excited about having a kid like Jacob signing up to play for Champaign?
Absolutely. I think this is a kid that legitimately you could project at 3 or more positions, athletically, length, physicality. Like, my favorite play on his film is a screen where he got boxed in on the sideline and just ran over a bunch of guys. Like, he has a desire for contact that, let's be honest, most guys that play outside the numbers are not necessarily guaranteed to have. He loves it. And he's got the length and the size that you look at and you say, well, that's an NFL frame. So I think in today's era, it's hard to take guys like that off the offensive side. Bama is the definition of old school. So, I'm not a super fan of his offense, but they're getting it done. If you're going to play him on defense with the way they're pumping out NFL DBs and like the way they style it, like, I get it. He could be your free safety. He's got the speed to do it. He runs away from kids in St. Louis. Like, he plays at Kirkwood High School. Yeah, this is a guy that's going to play a lot of football for Illinois. To be honest, they don't get a lot of guys with his length and athleticism, like, especially at that height. Like, he's at least 6'2". Mm-hmm. If he starts as a sophomore, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, he's a kid who was recruited at some schools to play wide receiver. And so it just kind of shows, between him and Nazir Rankin, also guys who are dual, can play on both sides of the field. It looks like Illinois is going to obviously start with him on the defensive side. And I think what you mentioned is huge. And I kind of referenced that in the first segment. Usually when you talk about the defensive backs that we've put into the NFL, they've got a chip on their shoulder, like maybe they're a little undersized or they're upset that the local school didn't recruit them, and they come to Illinois, and Brett Bielema is, an expert at kind of building you up and letting you reach 100% of your potential. With Jacob, I feel like the size is there, his love for the university is there. It's instilled through his father, again, who also played at Illinois. This is why I just think between Jacob, Nazir, we also had Nick Hankins who was recruited as a cornerback. You're talking about a recruiting class, at least on the defensive backside, that could rival the one that was just a few years ago, which had Devin Witherspoon, Sidney Brown, and Quan Martin all drafted in the top 65 picks in the NFL draft. Am I wrong? Athletically,
yeah. Like, again, Nasir, I'd have a really hard time taking the ball out of his hands, but if he wants to play corner, okay, you could play him at nickel. You could do all kinds of things. Those are the kinds of guys that don't go to Illinois. They've never gone to Illinois. My entire lifetime, I'm 51. They never get that kid. And he committed fairly early to the Illini. So this is one of the more important recruiting classes for Illinois because they're getting skill guys they don't normally get. And as I kind of scanned through the list before we got started, Sonny, they have 10 linemen between the offensive and defensive side. Now, I expect that to a certain degree from a Bielema group, but like some of the kids I didn't expect to be on that list. They've improved quantity and quality, not one or the other, at spots that matter. So if you want to be a lineman program, you got to recruit those kind of numbers, but they've added more talent. And then the DB/wide receiver group, again, that it'll play itself out where these kids play. Those are not kids that Illinois normally gets. Mm-hmm. There's a reason to think that's going to be one of the top 6 or 7 programs in the Big Ten consistently, as long as Brett Bielema decides to be in Champaign.
So we've had about 23 hard commits so far this year. And for the most part, the spring/summer recruitment cycle is kind of over. The staff is kind of moving over to 2027, at least a lot of their focus. Of course, we'll talk a little bit later about how you still got to keep recruiting the guys that you have in your class. But I just wanted your thoughts kind of, as a guy who watches tape all day, every day, what are some other names in the recruiting class that you really personally like?
Well, looking at the group overall, I mean, it's Eberhart I just watched, so he's on my mind, and not going to go by specifics to throw. I know all the people that do the rankings and stuff in the industry in some capacity. He's underrated. Like, he's probably one of the top 5 guys in the class, and his ceiling is certainly top 5, if not top 3. But like, if you're an Illinois fan, do yourself a favor. Go look at the list. Go through it and look at how many kids they have as linemen. One of them that I like a lot, and he's not ranked as high as he probably would be. He's listed at 6'2". I don't know if he really is. King Liggins out of Brother Rice. If he plays in a one-gap scheme where they get up the field and he can be aggressive, I think that's a kid that could be really, really good for this program. You mentioned Nick Hankins. He's a guy that's really good. Bellevue West. That's a guy you could probably play at running back, wide receiver, or DB, and he'd be effective. And then the big guy they got out of maybe the most surprising guy too, Kai Pritchard. They got him from New Jersey. That's pretty random. They don't get offensive tackles like him unless it's more like, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, something like that. Okay. New Jersey. Those are some of the guys that kind of caught my attention. And I haven't watched all the players. Sure. Thomas, the kid from Cape Coral, I've seen before. He could really run. But like, if I had to pick one guy, probably Pritchard. And part of that is I'm just curious because obviously you get offensive tackles like that with what Bielema has showed historically, your offense is going to be really good. So they've got some NFL talent, man. This is probably the best Illinois class in my lifetime, and they're not necessarily done. I'm curious to see what they will do as an encore with the portal. Like, did they dump all their money into high school? I don't know how all that's going to work, but this is a great job by that staff.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons next year's season is so important for the Illini. The expectations are that they're a sleeper college football playoff team. And last 2 years ago they won 8 games. 3 years ago they won 8 games. They followed that up with a 5-game victory total. So this year they can't afford that disappointment because they've got so many veterans on this team. I think they're replacing 27 guys on next year's roster. You're not going to have the veterans instilled on this year's team. So you're going to be counting on some of the younger guys and in particular the transfer portal, which, you're obviously an expert of, which Brett Bielema has tried to kind of plug in holes. This past year, he's mainly done it on the defensive line. But, let's just round it up. I think the big key for Illinois having a successful season is because if they do struggle out of the gate, these names that you mentioned that Illinois is not used to getting, well, those Alabamas, the Oklahomas are going to start whispering, see, they were a one-year fluke. It's not worth it. Come to this storied program where we're going to continue to develop you and you'll be able to play in primetime games and you don't have to risk all that. That's what's important. Because if they do win, though, if they do win 9, 10 games, then I can say arguably the reverse might happen. Illinois got one of their best linebackers in the class, Grant Bierman, because Ryan Walters was fired at Purdue. If Illinois continues to build good relationships with some of the prospects who've committed elsewhere, and if for whatever reason those teams falter, well, Brett can be on the phone and trying to re-recruit those guys. And all of a sudden, what we're looking at as a potential top 25, top 30 class can creep up even more, bringing in even more 4-stars.
That's the bottom line right there, brother. You have to be consistent. You don't know what's going to happen. And I've already heard, for what it's worth, this will be a very heavy year for coaching change. I don't know if there's ever a light year in college football, but this year's I know. Fans have zero patience.
Yeah.
But the contracts have gotten so big, I'm a little bit surprised because the buyouts are insane. Let's see what happens. Wisconsin, we don't know. Is Kurt going to finally retire at Iowa? Like, there's all kinds of possibilities around not just the Big Ten, but the SEC's got some guys on the hot seat, et cetera. Illinois just got Kai out of New Jersey. If you can get that kid who was recruited by a bunch of different programs, why couldn't they get somebody from Florida or Louisiana or Texas or something to kind of be the cherry on top because somebody got canned at another school? Possible. And again, this is probably the best Illinois class of my lifetime. And it's certainly the most balanced. That's probably the biggest thing. You can't point at it and say, well, they didn't get anybody here. They didn't do anything. It's a really balanced group. So Illinois fans should be absolutely tickled to death by what they've got.
Yeah, when you talk about recruiting classes, like this is up there with the Ron Zook era, but the difference is the Ron Zook era was very good at culminating talent, but not necessarily developing it. And so I just wrote this down. This class alone has 4 composite 4-stars. We had, 5 composite 4-stars. And combined in the Lovie era, we had 5 composite 4-stars in his entire tenure. And we had 4 combined in the Tim Beckman and Cubitt era. Again, Zook had a bunch, but he wasn't really able to develop, and that's what ultimately led to his dismissal. But Brian, thank you so much for joining us here at Locked On Illini. Please, can you let the audience know one more time where they can find your work?
Yeah, sure. Locked On the portal. We do everything with recruiting, NIL, and the transfer portal. A lot of stuff kind of finally coming to a close with recruiting, but we still have the August 1st NIL clearinghouse to discuss. Which deals are going to get approved and which ones aren't. That's probably the next big topic. We'll be covering that every day.
Brian, I appreciate you.
Take care.
And welcome back to Locked On Illini. I really hope you got to appreciate that little conversation with Brian Smith. Again, I'm more of a basketball guy when it comes to actually scouting film, but I can tell you I was super excited from what I've seen of Eberhart. He's my personal favorite player in this class, and I do think his story, of course, has something to do with it, but his football talent is right up there with anyone that we're going to be bringing into Champaign next year. If you haven't already, make sure you've hit the like button on this particular video and make sure you send it to other Illini fans in your life. I've mentioned this before. It's my goal to get 4,000 subs, at least on the YouTube side, before we kick off the season, which is next month. August 29th, we'll be kicking off the season against Western Illinois. Before I let you go today, I wanted to probably make some of you angry at me because I've already done so. To give you a little context, last Saturday, I ran the Big Ten 10K that they had right around Soldier Field, and I posted a couple of pictures of myself, both on the YouTube page and on all the social medias, and it was with me and I don't even know what to call him, the Kingfisher bird, who was the representative of Illinois. And a lot of you sent me messages, whether it's in the comments section or in the Discord, some people got upset about me taking pictures saying, hey, you shouldn't be taking the picture with the Kingfisher. I understand that this mascot issue, the chief thing is held very dear to the heart with a lot of you, and I totally get it. It doesn't matter as much to me, but like for me, the idea was all the other kids and families were standing next to their particular school's mascot, right? You had Bucky Badger there. You had the Buckeye Bucknut, whatever his name is. He was there. The Michigan State Spartan. And for me, I wanted to take my turn. Okay, I'm going to rep Illinois. And so that's who the university decided to send out to represent them. I had nothing to do with that. If it's up to me, sure, send out the chief. Or I even like the otter. I like the name, the Alma Otter, and what it kind of signifies within the university. That's probably who I would have gone with. But the fact that they picked the Kingfisher, for me, again, it's not a hill that I'm willing to die on. For me, I do think mascots are very important. I know some of you are going to disagree, and some of you it's either chief or nothing. To me, mascots help develop the culture and the energy at games, and it helps in particular, families and kids get more invested and more excited to come to these sort of games. I don't think mascots are for someone my age. Okay, that's just my opinion. For me, it's if I can bring my 7-year-old daughter to an Illini football game or an Illini basketball game, man, whichever Illini mascot can get them to laugh and just enjoy the experience more, guess what? Those kids are going to grow up wanting to come with me to these Illini events and slowly but surely become Illini fans, and who knows, maybe even Illini students themselves. That to me is why it's not, again, I mentioned this before, it's not going to be a hill that I'm willing to die on, but I wanted to be clear about that. I'm not in full support of Kingfisher. I'm not in full support of Chief or the Alma Otter. For me, it's just I personally would prefer a mascot. And so if you give me the choice, I'm going to take a picture with one. I want my kids to take a picture with one. So I just want to get that off my chest a little bit. I wasn't, trying to make any sort of political statement or anything like that. I was simply at the Big Ten 10K. The University of Illinois sent out the Kingfisher mascot, and so I wanted to take a picture with it, because that's who we're representing, the family, right? And that's what that's all about. Again, don't be mad at me. I do want to hear your guys' thoughts. If it's not Chief, would you rather just go with 0 mascots altogether, or is it just a particular disdain that you have for this bird, this Kingfisher? Would you be okay with the Alma otter or another variation of a mascot, or is it Chief or nothing? Again, for me, I think the mascot adds to the experience, and it adds to making the younger generations, and I'm not talking about the college kids, I'm talking about the younger generations, the 7, the 10-year-olds, become fans and associate themselves with the university. But you might disagree. I'm actually genuinely curious about your thoughts. So let me know in the comment section, or send me a DM on your favorite social media. You can find me at Talk Illini or Locked On Illini. I handle both of those accounts. Next week, I'm going to be live. Well, not live, but I will be from Las Vegas for the Big Ten Media Day. So if you're in the area, let me know. I'm going to have a lot of exciting content out there for you. I'm going to try to line up a couple of interviews. If you have any particular questions you want me to ask that haven't been asked before, again, send me an email, talkillini@gmail.com, or any of these social medias, and I'll do my best to try to get those asked for you. So much content for you next week. Again, to me, it's the unofficial kickoff of college football season. Once Big Ten Media Days roll around, I think we're at 49 days until the college football season officially kicks off. I can't wait. Until then, ILL, love you guys.